Hi everyone, if you're thinking of building or renovating, this is the place to be. I'm Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group, and welcome to tonight's Totally Wicked Q&A. It's where we talk to experts, or I give you heaps of awesome information to help you choose, compare and create your new home. So tonight we're going to be talking about sustainability design tips that are going to help you save money. We're going to be talking about the basics of energy efficiency, the ratings, what they mean, how they relate to different elements of the building so you can actually choose what you need, lowering operational costs by spending a little bit of money wisely at the start of your build, in the planning stages or in your renovations, and saving money just generally heating and cooling your home, because that's the biggest running cost of your home. Typically, especially in the hotter parts of Australia when you need to cool things down and it's 40 degrees. And some of these tips you can actually do even if you're renting or you're not doing any big renovations. So stay tuned. Everybody can get something out of this. And tonight, you could win a free plan review for you or a friend, valued at $330. It's a 1-hour online meeting with one of our Totally Wicked gurus to discuss important aspects of your home if you already have some plans, the review of your plans with a Totally Wicked guru, and then a 1-hour online follow-up meeting. So if you're getting a plan off a builder and you just want that extra little bit of design advice, or just to make sure that you are actually getting what you're paying for, a fresh set of eyes, that's very, very good to have us have a look at for you. And it's $330 for free. Or if you don't have a set of plans, you're not renovating, but maybe you just want to spruce up your home a little bit, or incorporate some of the tips that I'm going to tell you today to help cool your home much more effectively, or heat your home much more effectively, depending on where you're living, then you could win a $20 Bunnings gift card. So how do you win? Well, sign up to our free email list, and the link should be going into the comments below. Share this video and tag 5 friends in the comments, and then you will go in the running to win a free plan review or a $20 Bunnings gift card. You get to choose if you win. So we will be announcing the winner at the end once the stream has finished. So we will be getting started soon, giving stragglers a chance to sign in so no one's missing out. Thank you for all of you for being on time. I usually talk between 45 minutes and an hour. Sometimes it's a little bit less, but most of the time it's longer than that because I just get so involved in what I'm doing and I just have to give you as much information as possible. So you can get a link to this video as soon as the stream is over on our Facebook page, and there's also access to lots of other previous streams that we've done on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel also has lots of little snippets as well. So if there's just a specific topic you want to know about and you don't want to sit there for 45 minutes and listen to everything, then check it out. It's a really great resource. And also, if you really have a problem, you're building or renovating at the moment, and there's something that you really want to know about, please post in the comments or PM us and we can answer it for you, or even better, we might do a whole video on it for you. We want to help, so if you tell us what your problems are, we can help. So the whole reason why we're doing this is a lot of our clients, when we first started this whole process, you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot of knowledge that we can give. So that is the whole point of this. So the more that you ask questions, the more we can help you. There's no hard sell. If you want a free plan review, great. If you want a $20 Bunnings gift card, great. But if not, just sit back, relax and learn. There is the disclaimer, especially tonight. Everything that I discuss is general information. So if you do want to pursue some of these more complicated techniques, then please go and see an expert about them. The cost of electricity and energy and insulation, things like that, changes all the time. The rules associated with sustainability and energy efficiency change all the time. So if you're watching this in 3 years' time, please be wary of that. Make sure you go to an expert to get things sorted properly for your situation. Awesome. And if at any time during this you have any questions, please feel free to post them, and one of our Totally Wicked minions, our social minions, will answer it for you. So with that, we're going to get started. So when people think of sustainability, energy efficiency, one of the first things I think people think about is solar panels. And then I think the next thing would be lighting. I'm not going to talk about those tonight because I feel like that's a whole topic all on its own. And ultimately, solar panels are great. I think every house that is in a decent location with sun should have them in Australia, and LEDs are hands down the best efficient light source that's available for home use. So that's all I'm going to say about that. What I would like to do in a couple of months' time is get an actual solar expert to come in, and then we can talk about wattages and batteries and all of that sort of stuff. But for the purposes of tonight, that's all I'm going to say about solar panels and lighting, because there's so many other interesting things that a lot of people don't know about that are more important, I think. So first question, what is the NatHERS rating? So I'm just going to share the screen and show you what it is. It's going to let me, wait. Haha, there we go. So this is a system developed by the CSIRO, and it measures the energy efficiency of buildings. All new houses in Australia must be a 6-star rated energy efficient house. And I'm fairly certain that apartments are 5-star rated, but you can go higher. 10 is the best that you can get. There is actually a really nifty video here that shows you exactly what it is that they do. But ultimately, what you need to understand is that a 10-star rated building needs no heating or cooling at all. And if you do want your house to be a 10-star rated building, then you need to have it custom designed, usually for the area that you're building it. And you need to be very clear from the very, very start that that's what you want. Otherwise, you will not achieve that value. You can't go to a builder, get a house and land package, and then say, oh, can we just adjust this to get a 10-star rating? It just is so complicated, all the bits and pieces that you need to go through. But ultimately, anything above a 6 is really good. And what it does is it looks at some of the things that I'll be talking about today in terms of the angles of the sun, which areas are shaded, how big your windows are, what type of glazing there is, where the different areas of the building are situated, whether they're on the north side, the south side, etc. So this video here is only a couple of minutes long. I won't play it though. You can play it later. We'll put the link in there. But it really does explain nicely how it actually works. So, see, there's a few other things in here about certificates and stuff. So every new house that is designed has to go through a system, and it effectively spits out what star rating it is. So I'm going to go back to me. Hello. So next question, which is a little bit technical, but you need to know it, is what is an R value? Now, it has nothing to do with movies, no over 18s or anything like that, but it's a term that's used to explain insulation's resistance to heat flow. So that's all types of insulation. That could be insulation in your floor, the big bats, big fluffy cushion bats that go in your walls and your ceiling, and the reflective foil sarking insulation that can sometimes go in your walls, but generally goes in your roof. So they will all have some sort of R rating. The higher the R value, the less heat transfer, so the better energy efficiency you're going to get within your home. So it works both ways in winter, summer, or the wet and the dry season if you're up north. But generally, the higher the R value, the better. And this is the type of thing that if you're doing a new build and you look at your specification or your quote as to what has been included, generally builders would just include the base that's required to get that 6-star rating, NATA's rating, so that you can get your occupancy permit and you're allowed to build. But if you go just a few R levels higher, you could potentially be saving a lot of money on your heating and cooling over the year, because the heat transfer going in and out of your home is much, much less. So that's something that if you're going to do an upgrade and you wanted to save on operating costs, good one to look at. So that's your R value. Following on from that, what does active and passive heating and cooling mean? So active heating or cooling relates to devices that need to constantly change the temperature of the home. So air conditioners, fans, varying different types of air conditioners, evaporative or cooling systems. Technically, someone sitting there with a fan is also active cooling. Passive cooling is more about either one interaction or no interactions at all, and it continues to heat or cool. So opening the window is one action, but the cross breeze that comes through is continuous. So that is a passive situation, heating and cooling technique. It sounds really obvious, but there are a lot of passive techniques that work better if they're designed more appropriately. So opening the window doesn't do much if there's nowhere for the air to actually flow. So I did talk a little bit about this in the previous month's video about cross-flow ventilation. So if you had windows opposite each other and the breezes could go straight through, that's going to work really well, especially in the tropics when you want to try and get rid of as much hot air inside as possible. The breezes, you just need to get them to help you out as much as you can. So that's something in a design point of view. If you had hallways right in the middle of your house running the entire length, then you can't get your cross-flow properly. So those sorts of things, very, very simple. And sometimes it might only mean adjusting a few things on your plan and not costing you any more money, but you have much better opportunity to use passive cooling techniques. And I'll be talking a little bit more about those sorts of techniques later as I go through each of these different things. Now, Now we know about natters, we know about passive and active heating and cooling, and we know what an R value is. So what insulation should I have in my roof? That entirely depends on how you want to control the temperature. So if you want a 10 natters rated house and you don't want to actively cool the house, you're just passive only, that's one set of insulation techniques. If you want primarily active, so fully ducted air conditioning system, no ceiling fans, that's a completely different technique. In my opinion, we should have a combination of the two. I think that's the best balance between spending money at the beginning of your build and spending money during the lifetime of the build, because you are going to get 40-degree days where passive cooling is not going to work quite as well as you'd like. Or if you work from home and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's too hot, your brain's not going to work properly. It's just the nature of what happens. So I firmly believe in designing for both, somewhere in the happy medium. So I'm just going to talk about a passive design technique that I mentioned before first, and then talking about how we can make it a little bit more active. So I'm going to share my screen again. So last month I showed, I talked a little bit about stack ventilation, or the stack effect, and how if you heat up your roof, then it causes the hot air to rise. And if there's somewhere for the hot air to go, then it naturally wants to suck in the cooler air that's at ground level and take it up. So this is a passive cooling technique. And here's cross ventilation here, and just displaying the, oh, can we have that? I don't want to see that. Okay, shouldn't have touched that. Anyway, doesn't matter, we'll get rid of that. So sorry, technical difficulties. I'm still here. Am I still here? I think I'm still here. Okay.
Still live?
Yeah, I think we're still live. I accidentally removed myself, but I think I'm back now. Hi. All right. So what was I talking about? Stack effect. Yes, crossway ventilation. No, I'm pretty sure I'm back now. I accidentally clicked remove as opposed to putting myself back. So we're good. Well, that's not bad. I've been doing this for a while. That's the first time I've done that. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with myself. Okay. So yeah, stack effect. So the way that works is you actually want the roof to heat up. So having a minimum R value in your roof might actually be of benefit to you, because the hotter that the top part of the stack is, the more likely it is to circulate around. But that doesn't work in every situation. And there's a cool way you can do it that's a bit more active, but much more effective. So I know, especially in Australia, a lot of people would have heard of a whirlybird. And they are just these big bulbous things that sit on the top of your roof, and they're a passive system, because as the roof heats up, they start to spin, because the hot air goes through them, spin, 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 and it cools your roof cavity, and it helps to bring in the cooler air underneath. These days, I'm going to press the button properly. Awesome. These days, you can actually get active vents. So this is your standard whirlybird, and these are solar-powered ventilators. So if you look at the airflow capacity of a standard whirlybird, you're looking at 100 cubic meters an hour, as opposed to 700, 1,000, nearly 3,000 an hour. So this one here is 27 times more effective than a standard whirlybird because it uses solar power. And the great thing about these is some of them, not all of them, some of them have a thermostat. So when the temperature of the roof gets to a certain, temperature, then it will automatically turn on. So you can actually change it to suit. So that's a great example of an active and a passive cooling system. So it's a passive technique, but it's using an active system to make it more effective. This is old data. Like I said before, you need to check what's out there already, but at least you know that these exist. There's a whole heap of different ones, and some of them are actually electric, some are solar, some are just passive designs that are just being remade. So check that out. It's really, really awesome. Now, next question. And we'll stay here and we'll go to this one. Oh, go early. Thank you. This is something I'm a little bit biased on, but ceiling fans versus air conditioning. I am very conscious of the fact that I was born in Darwin and I don't mind being hot, and some people hate it. But I do think that every house in Australia should have ceiling fans everywhere, because even in places like Tasmania, air ventilation is super, super important. And when you look at this handy dandy guide, you can see air conditioning, even portable air conditioning. I mean, these are just estimates, obviously. But $75 a quarter for a portable air conditioner, or $330 a quarter for a ducted system, only using it 250 hours. And then you look at everything else down here, nothing even comes close, except for a pool heater. So if you don't have a pool, there's nothing here that goes up to 300. And look at that, solar, 50. So it's such a huge, huge drain on your pocket as well as the environment. And with everything getting hotter, the grids. So, you know, if everybody turns their air conditioner on and it's all ducted air conditioning everywhere, then the grids are just not going to handle it. Whereas if you look at a ceiling fan, $2. Even if you double the amount of hours that you use that for, that's still under $5 a quarter for one ceiling fan, as opposed to $300 a quarter. I just feel like it's a complete no-brainer. And they can be used together. I know I'm a big fan of ceiling fans, but I'll just go back here. But I really do think that they can be used together. So the way that ceiling fans work is they cool people, not rooms. They won't actually adjust the temperature of the room, but they will make it appear cooler. The way that it works is your sweat is what cools your body. That's just our natural, the natural way of our bodies working. And the best way for it to cool is if there's a breeze across your skin. So that's how fans work. If you leave a fan on in an empty room, it's not doing anything. In fact, it might even be heating up the room if it's a cheap fan and it's got a hot motor. So if the air in your room is hot and it's just circulating, it's still going to cool you down. But if the air in the room is cooler with an air conditioner, or it's just been cooled down by an air conditioner for, say, an hour, and then you turn the air conditioner off and turn your fan on, you will still get that cool feeling and be much more comfortable without racking up $1,000 quarterly bill because you've had your air conditioner running all the time. It's also healthier to have ventilated spaces. Ceiling fans are much easier to clean, in my opinion. Also, if you use fan socks, some people don't know about them, so you can usually get them from lighting stores. They're excellent, and they just slide over the top of the fans. And you can just take them off and give them a rinse and put them back on again. Much easier to keep your fans clean, as opposed to air conditioners that require servicing and regular cleaning of their filtration systems and things, because they collect lots of dust and spread spores everywhere. Yes, so it's much more healthier and easier to maintain if you've got fans pushing ventilation around, which is something we've actually become a lot more aware of with COVID as well. A lot of the COVID management plans for places like massage places or clinics and things like that encourage fresh airflow. So much better for you. So if you are choosing air conditioning, there are several different types. There's evaporative cooling and standard air conditioning, refrigerated air conditioning. So I won't dwell too much on this, but you need to know the difference depending on where you live. So I'll go back to here. This is a really great article. I think it sums it up really, really well. And this is effectively what you will see sticking out the top of your roof if you have an evaporative. And this is the split system that most people have. Typically, the difference is this one works like a refrigerator. And so it's a motor that's pretty much constantly running, whereas this one works more on the use of water and the evaporation of the water cooling down. So evaporative cooling is really great for fresh air, cleaner air, energy efficiency. It's much more eco-friendly because it keeps your carbon footprint low, but it doesn't work everywhere. It is great in places like Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth because it's usually pretty dry when it's hot. You cannot use these in the tropics because it's already hot and sticky and humid, so it just won't evaporate the water, which won't cool anything. The only way you can actively cool a room with a temperature in somewhere like Darwin or Cairns or Broome is if you've got an active air conditioning refrigeration system. Temperature control is also different with the two of them. AC is always better because you can actually do it. Water is also a issue with evaporative cooling, but it's a bit of a catch-22 really, in that you're still saving a lot of energy. One of the great things about evaporative is it's, like I was saying before with fans, it does help with ventilating, because you still get fresh air coming in, and you have to actually open some of your windows and doors to let things go through. So if you're living in Brisbane, really AC is kind of the only way to go, because it gives you the options of temperature control. I would also go with reverse cycle, because it does get quite cold. Reverse cycle works in the same sort of way. You can, turn it on, heat the room up, and then turn it off again, and just keep the doors and windows closed, and keep the air circulating, keep the heat in. There's another dilemma, is do you go with split systems or ducted when you're talking about refrigeration? Because evaporative systems are almost always ducted. You can get some splits, but they're not very common. So you're ducting the whole house. You're getting the air through the whole house. That's how it works. Just like we saw with the energy efficiency table that I brought up before, ducted is always the most expensive way to cool a home. In some instances, yes, you need it. If you've got a multi-generational home and there are people at home during the day in separate rooms at the same time, then it makes sense to cool down more of your home. But if you've only got 2 or 3 people and there's one person working from home in one office all the day, and then you've got 2 bedrooms that are used at night, then you might only need 3 split systems, because you don't need to cool down the entire house. So, I personally just stick with split systems, because they're much easier to deal with, to maintain. If something goes wrong, then at least you've still got a room that's cool. You don't have a whole system that doesn't work throughout your whole house. And you're not cooling down the whole house just for the sake of one person in one room. It's just not energy efficient. It doesn't make any sense. But I always recommend reverse cycle, unless you're living in somewhere like Darwin, of course, which, you don't necessarily need it. Let's go out in the sun for a little bit. Okay. Ooh, we're getting through it. Can't believe it. I might get under an hour. So just a reminder, tonight you can win a free plan review to the value of $330 if you sign up to our free email list, or you're already on it. Share this video and tag 5 friends in the comments. We will be drawing that at the end. If you're not building or renovating and you just want to incorporate some new stuff into your home, you could opt for a $20 Bunnings gift card instead. So sign up to our free mailing list, share this video, and tag 5 friends to be in the running. We are getting through it. Got a few more to go. All right. Now, this is some really cool stuff that anybody can do. And it kind of excites me because it's very sciencey. Can I save money cooling my existing home? The answer is yes, you can. There's this awesome thing called night purging, which I do all the time, and I'm pretty sure my husband has no idea that I do it. But it's really awesome. And I'm going to show you the principles behind it. I'll go here. Oh, I hope I can zoom in. No, maybe not. Damn. Oh, that's okay. We'll see how we go. So night purging is something that sounds really simple, but a lot of people don't do it. And more recently, sort of in the past sort of 10, 20 years or so, they've started to incorporate this into commercial buildings as well, which is pretty cool. And the idea is during summer or the wet season, if you're up north, the idea is to stop heat retention in the building. So stop heat from getting in. So that would be having high reflective roof, having large eaves or verandas, so you're shading as much of the walls as possible. Try and keep the mass of your walls with a higher value, higher R value, so that the transfer of heat coming from outside to inside is a lot less, and effectively just shut everything up. So you can use things like block out blinds or curtains to keep the sun out, make everything, keep the sun out as much as you can, especially from midday to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Use landscaping if you don't have big eaves or big verandas. Try and shade the east and west sides of your building. And use deciduous trees on the northern side of your building, so that during winter you can still let the light in, but during summer, when the trees have got all their foliage, they're shading those areas. Screening and fencing and things like that work as well. But when you get to the evening, as everything starts to cool down, this is when night purging is really great. You've tried all day to keep the sun out, to keep the heat out. Now, whatever heat you do have in there, you need to get out. So that's when you go around, you open up all of the windows in the house, you pull back all the blinds, you let as much air come through and cool down the house as quickly as you can, as soon as you can. And then when you get to 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, when you're getting ready to go to bed, you can shut everything up again. And if you need to, turn your air conditioner on, turn your fan on, keep the noise out if you're near a noisy street or whatever. But you've given the house the time to purge or breathe and get rid of as much of that heat as possible, which means that if you do have to turn your air conditioner on, it's doing a lot less work. Ideally, keeping your windows open at night will help cool everything down a lot more, but I appreciate that sometimes you can't do that because it's noisy or security or whatever. But as a bare minimum, I would say try and shield your walls as much as you can. Get some really decent curtains, and just open everything up just for a couple of hours each evening, while you're cooking tea or eating tea just before you go to bed. It makes a great deal of difference. Okay. And we've talked about roofs, we've talked about insulation, we've talked about walls. How do I choose energy efficient windows and doors? Now, typically I've found most clients sort of think double glazing for any glass, which yes, can be good, but there are so many different products out there. There's films and tints and different arrangements of frames. There's even different arrangements of blinds that can be integrated into your frames that deliver additional air pockets which help with insulation. So many different things. It all depends on your location, and we're going to get a little bit technical again, but there's two main values you need to look at when you're specifying your windows, when you're choosing windows. A U value, so not an R value, a U value, and what's called a solar heat gain coefficient. Say that again. Solar heat gain coefficient. Normally they write that as SHGC or variations of that. That's what it is. So the solar heat gain coefficient is the measure of the percentage of solar heat gain that passes through the window. Yeah, technical. So a higher value means more heat goes into the home. So it's just about how much goes from outside to inside or inside to outside, depending on whether you're in summer or winter. The U value is about how much heat energy is transferred through the window. So the lower value means that less heat is transferred. And I know I'm reading this because I've got to make sure I get it right because I often mix them up. And I've been doing this for years. So don't be concerned if you don't understand it. The point is that when you go to select them, you just need to know where your climate is and what high number you need and low number you need of both of those. So I will show you a really neat trick so you don't have to think about what it actually means. You just need to know which numbers you need. So we'll show you that. This is really nifty, this one. So this is the Australian Window Association window energy rating website. It's actually got some really great information in there. And what you can do, again, we'll share this so you can have a look. But if you look at here, we've got all the different climate zones. So you can click on these and you get these awesome guides. And if you go down to here, it just says your preferred U value, low. Your preferred solar heat gain coefficient, low. So if you are living in Northern Australia, Brisbane or Darwin, you know that those two values need to be low. And the lower that they are, the better they are going to be, generally, for your situation. For the purposes of this, we'll just go something completely different. So here we're looking at the cooler climates. So we're looking at more Melbourne and Tassie and lower parts of WA. And here we go. Preferred U value is also low, but the solar heat gain coefficient is high because you want heat to come in during winter. You want that passive heat to come in and heat things up during the day so that at night you can retain that heat. So whenever you are looking at, again, your specification, what's included in your build, have a look at these sorts of things and don't necessarily look at whether it's double glazed or not, because in a lot of circumstances, just adding a film will be more than enough to get the same as high as a double glazed situation. Now, last question. Hang on a second. Yep. Most of what I've talked about tonight has been about cooling during the summer, which, let's face it, we live in Australia. It's pretty damn hot in the majority of Australia. But there are areas where you actually want to retain heat, like Tasmania. And I mean, I used to live in Adelaide, and there's some circumstances there where you do want heat retention. And there's some really neat things that you can do design-wise that will help with that, especially in places like Adelaide that get really, really hot during summer, like 40 degrees and bugger all humidity. And then in winter, you know, sleet almost coming in, horizontal rain, wind chill. Oh, it's terrible. So the angle of the sun is really, really important. And I did discuss this a little while ago, a couple of times throughout my many design videos. But if you do have a look at the CSIRO and the BOM and looking at where the angle of your sun is, especially in the cooler climates, you can actually see the angle of the sun goes really low in winter, which is great. I know, right? It's excellent. So the great thing about that is you can adjust your eaves to suit so that during summer you're shading as much of the wall as possible, but during winter you are using the sun to heat up the windows, which will have your high solar heat gain coefficient, letting as much heat in as possible. But then if you have a higher R rating of your walls, see, that's why I went in technical when I first started. So you have a high insulation value of your walls, then the retention of the heat is going to work in your favor. So I'm going to get a little sciencey. Love science. This is awesome. I'm going to show you, I think it's called a trom wall system. That's how I was taught to say it. But again, you know, tomato, tomato. Share again. Here we go. So this is what I was saying before about the summer sun and the winter sun. A trom wall system. Oh, I don't have an image. Hang on, I'll get an image. Oh, no, I don't want to be here. Images. No. Yeah, there we go. That looks nice. So this is effectively a trom wall system. And what you've got is you've got glazing that is usually operable, so you can open and close it, and a really heavy heat source, basically. So the idea being that you use the sun and the glazing to let the light in, heat up this wall very slowly, and the latent heat means that if it heats up slowly, it's going to release heat slowly. So it spends all day heating up so that at night it will radiate that heat out as it cools down. And when it gets cooler at night, what do you want? More heat at night. So this is an excellent passive system, like I said, for places like Adelaide and Melbourne and Tasmania, because you have beautiful sun, heats up the wall does all the work for you. And during summer, what you can do is actually open up these windows to use them. So you open up one window at the bottom and one window at the top. So if you're doing it here, one window at the bottom and one window at the top. And this is still your solid wall, but it's creating that ventilation stack system, which is what I've been talking about over and over again. So this is excellent as a in-design technique that you can do, but you need to have someone who knows what they're doing. So that's very much a sciencey based thing, but I love it, and I think it can look excellent. I mean, that looks really, really cool. There's a couple of other ones in here. Let's see if we can find another one that looks, see, like even that one, that's a basic one. Doesn't look quite right. She needs to be on the outside. What we got here? No, that's stonewalling. That's not it. No, that's something else too. That's cool. You get the idea. Oh, here we might have a detail. Oh, look at that. Look at that. See, beautiful. Vent at the top, vent at the bottom. Circulates the air through, pulls stuff around. Excellent. I cannot believe that I did it in under an hour, even with technical difficulties. Hey. All right. So I hope that helped you all. Like I said, solar panels and lighting, we'll be discussing that later as one whole big thing. And if you have any questions, especially about the technical stuff, please post them and we will answer them when they come in, or direct you to some places where you can go. At the very least, I suggest looking at that Natters video. Like I said, it's only about 2 minutes long, but it really does explain really well what little techniques you can use and how the system actually works. So you know what you're getting with a 6 rated house and what a 10 rated house means. Honestly, I think they're gradually going to be working their way up with 7s and 8s. But if you can afford to put a few extra dollars in at the build stage or a few extra design things at the build stage, it's going to help you so much later on. And like I said, there's a few things here that you can definitely do now, like night purging, like getting some blockout blinds with your $20 Bunnings gift card, that will help lower those bills as much as you can. So just a reminder, last few minutes to sign up to our free emailing list, share this video and tag 5 friends. We will be posting the winner at the end of this live when we sign off in a couple of minutes. So go ahead and do that. Check out our YouTube page for all the Totally Wicked clips and previous videos going up. We're putting stuff up pretty much every week. And keep up to date on our Facebook page. Thank you for tuning in. And if someone you know is an expert and might want to come on and be interviewed by me about whatever their topic is that might help people, or if you have any questions, if you're buying or building or renovating, if you have any questions that you really, really need answered, please PM us and we will answer them for you, and we'll share the love and tell everybody else as well. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Hawthorne Creative for hosting as usual, even with the technical difficulties because I pressed the wrong button, but that's cool. And I'm Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group. I hope you have a totally wicked evening.